Thank you, Kara. By my count, we do have a quorum, but we're a few minutes before 2 o'clock, so we will hang tough. Ms. Rabine, are you ready to go?
I am, thank you.
Great, thank you. And it is 2 o'clock, so I will call the Missoula City County, or I'm sorry, a special meeting of the Missoula City Council to order. It is September 2nd, 2020. Based on my observation virtually here, it appears that Ms. Anderson is the only council member missing this afternoon. We of course have no minutes today. We do have opportunity for public comment on non-agenda items. I see that we have one person in the audience, and I don't know, Ms. Van Fossen, if you're interested in commenting. I don't see a hand raised at the moment.
Mayor Engen?
Yes.
Heather Harp is not at the meeting either.
Oh, thank you. Ms. Harp is not at the meeting, but Ms. Anderson now is. So correction to that role, and we'll keep an eye out for Ms. Harp. All right, seeing no public comment, we will move on to the several public hearings we have. The reason for this special meeting is we have some statutory issues that we need to, some statutory deadlines by which we need to abide. The public hearings all happen in the committee of the whole. And I would ask, Ms. Rabine, are you doing staff report on the levies?
I am doing BID and the Tourism Business Improvement District, yes.
Okay. And Ms. Griffin, are you doing road district? And
I guess I am.
Okay, thank you. With that then, we will begin our public hearing on a resolution levying assessments for hotels and motels located in the Tourism Business Improvement District for fiscal year 21. Ms. Rabine with our staff report.
Mayor Engen and council members, every year the city council adopts a resolution that levies the $2 per room night fee that hotels and motels that are located in the Tourism Business Improvement District charge to their customers for every room night. The TBID actually collects these fees from the hotels. They're reported at the same time. The other bed tax money is reported to the state of Montana. As you'll recall, the city council expanded the Tourism Business Improvement District here recently to include all the motels and hotels that are located in city limits.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. And for the record, Ms. Harp has joined us, so all council members are present. And I will open a public hearing on the resolution levying the assessments, which have already been included in our budget, which you all took care of on Monday evening. Public hearing is open. And I see no hands raised. And we will vary from our usual process, and we won't keep this public hearing open. And I would entertain a motion at this point. The public hearing is closed. And Mr. Von Lossberg.
Thank you. I move we adopt a resolution levying assessments on the hotels and motels located in the Tourism Business Improvement District of the City of Missoula for fiscal year 2021 in the amount of $2 per occupied room night in accordance with 7-12-1132 Montana Code Annotated.
That motion is in order. Is there discussion on the motion? Mr. Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As per tradition, I'm going to be not supporting this amendment. I've talked to many of the small hotel owners in the region, and I get that there's a time and place for this and that this is passed, but I just can't in good conscience support it because a lot of the smaller hotel owners are the ones that feel like they're getting squeezed out, where a lot of the larger hotels, in addition to receiving some TIF money and other stuff and startup are also benefiting from this more so than the little guy, and the little guy's getting squeezed out of the market. So I will not be supporting it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mrs. Lasika.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with everything that my colleague, Mr. Ramos, said. I also did have a question. One of my constituents reached out and asked me if there was proper advertisement for this special city council meeting. I'm aware of the meeting, so I just wanted to make sure that there was proper announcement for this.
Ms. Rabine.
The mayor called a special meeting 2 days in advance of the meeting and that's the requirement in the charter for it. And he sent the agenda out. Yes, thanks.
And Ms. Anderson.
Thank you so much. I will be supporting this amendment or this motion, I guess, because I think it's really important to point out the fact that this fee is not paid for by the hotelier. It is paid by the person staying at the hotel, and it goes to a fund that promotes Missoula tourism, which benefits all the hotels and restaurants and our community at large, and that this is a fee that is being paid for, that a small fee paid for by the person staying at the hotel. It doesn't come out of any extra money from the actual hotelier or business owner. And I would point out that Montana is only one of 5 states that doesn't have a sales tax, a general sales tax. So most folks who are coming to visit the state of Montana, if they're from out of state, they're coming from a state that doesn't have a sales tax. So a $2 fee would be much less than anything anybody would be paying in a state that has a sales tax on their additional hotel night for the taxes and fees. And the fact that this goes directly to helping spur our local economy, I think is a good thing. So I will be in support.
Mr. Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to keep it quick. That I certainly understand that, appreciate Ms. comments, and the hoteliers also understand that it's the customer that pays those fees, but nevertheless, it still impacts their business. It still hurts them through admin overhead and through just various differences in the market. and they've noticed a big difference in it. So they get that it also can help tourism, but at the same time, the type of tourism that promotes typically isn't the type that benefits their small hotels. So just want to clarify that for the record. I appreciate the comments of Ms. Anderson, and will still not be supporting the motion.
Seeing no further discussion, we've had a public hearing and we'll have a roll call vote.
On the resolution, Anderson,
Yes.
Becerra,
Yes.
Contos,
No.
Harp,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Ramos,
No.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Basika,
No.
Von Lossberg,
Yes.
and West.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? That's 9 ayes and 3 nays.
And the resolution is approved. We're going to bounce around slightly on our agenda and keep the business improvement districts together. Ms. Rabine will offer a staff report on a resolution levying assessments for the Downtown Business Improvement District for fiscal year 2021. Ms. Rabine.
Thanks, Mayor Engen. The City Council renewed the Downtown Business Improvement District based on a petition from downtown business owners this past year. And so these are the assessments for that district. And they include the new formulas that the council set forth. So if you'll recall, residential property, anything that is zoned with a residential district, not residential use, but the zoning is exempt from assessment under this for the next 10 years in this district. I had, let me see, we just finalized the assessments actually earlier today. And just a moment here, I'll open the resolution to tell you what they are. The total amount of the assessments for this fiscal year are $371,524.22. There is an exhibit that's attached to this item, so you can see what the assessments are for every property owner that is in the district. Districts divided by 2 zones. Zone 1 is the core of downtown that is near the large main collector streets, that is West Broadway, East Broadway, and Higgins Avenue. And Zone 2 are the properties that are a little further out. Most property owners' assessment will be exactly the same as it was last year in these properties, because their property is assessed a flat fee plus a percentage of their taxable values. And since we're in the second year of our 2-year reappraisal cycle, most property owners will see exactly the same unless they've improved their property and gotten a building permit and maybe made some improvements to it. Or in several cases, property owners have received a tax appeal from the Department of Revenue and their assessments will be declining. The city's assessments are going to be increasing slightly because the assessment formula for public property in the district under the new resolution that extended the district increased the fees for the city by about 10 cents per square foot. And I think that's everything. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. I will open the public hearing. Anyone care to comment on the Downtown Business Improvement District levy? And I see no public comment. I will close the public hearing. And are there questions or comments from council members? Mr. Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a quick note.
Mr.
For the
Ramos,
language change of the bid.
Mr. Ramos, you're breaking up.
Can you hear me?
You
Oh,
can-
geez. Is this better?
Much.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I just had a quick question, and I might have missed the meeting where we talked about this, and I apologize. But so the new language change, how does this new language change in the bid impact the BABs? Does it do anything for the BABs? Is that one that's residential occupied within non-residential zoning? Just wanted to kind of follow up on that.
That is exactly correct. It is zoned commercial. And so properties that are located in the BAB apartment or the BAB condo unit are still being assessed because it's a residential use, but it's in a commercial zoning district.
Okay, perfect. And should I make my brief comments now, Mr. Mayor?
Let me get a motion on the floor, and I'm happy to have those comments.
Perfect.
Mr. Ramos. Seeing no
Thank you.
additional, thank you. Seeing no additional questions, Mr. Von Losberg.
Thank you. I move we adopt a resolution levying taxes on the lots, pieces and parcels of land located in the downtown business improvement district of the city of Missoula for fiscal year 2021 in accordance with 7-12-1132 Montana Code Annotated.
Thank you, Mr. Von Losberg. Discussion on the motion. Mr. Ramos?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'll keep this brief. I understand kind of the predicament the BABS folks are in, but at the end of the day, each one of those units does have to pay that flat fee, whereas somewhere like Rome, which is a large facility, which they get a little TIF assistance as well, they only have to pay one of those fees, not per unit, even though there's multiple units in it. And I get that that's a more complicated issue, opposed to ownership, zoning, various other things, but I can't support it because of that. And also I've talked to a lot of these small business owners in the district where they are completely against this. They do think that it unfairly punishes them, and they're already kind of on the brink of going out, especially with a variety of COVID-related issues. In addition to that, I think that the bid does a lot of great work, but I think that there's no reason why this fund couldn't be voluntary, and businesses that could afford to or wanted to pay into it could do that. So I will not be supporting the motion, but I do appreciate a lot of the good work that bid does. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion on the motion, we've had a public hearing, and we will have a roll call vote.
On the resolution, Becerra,
Yes.
Contos,
No.
Harp,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Ramos,
No.
Carroll,
Yes.
Vasika,
No.
Von Losberg,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? That is 9 ayes and 3 nays.
And the resolution is approved. Ms. Griffin, I would be happy to have you combine.
Tony just tried calling me, Jeremy. Yeah.
You're not on mute, Ms. Harp. Ms. Griffin, I would be happy to have you combine your staff report for Road District Number 1 and Park District Number 1, if you would, please.
Great, thank you very much. As the mayor mentioned previously, we passed the budget last Monday night. City Council passed the budget, and the numbers that we are assessing for today support the budget that has been approved by City Council. So we are assessing $4.9 million for the road district to support public works, streets, engineering functions, and we are assessing $2.7 million for the park district to support parks initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. And with that, I will open the public hearing on both the Park and Road District. And seeing no hands raised, I will close the public hearing. Are there questions from council members? Seeing none of those, Mr. Von Losberg, would you mind making 2 separate motions, please?
Not at all. First motion is for the road district. I move we adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Missoula, Montana, levying and assessing the lots and parcels within the City of Missoula Road District 1 at $4,936,655 for the costs associated with providing certain maintenance, purchasing, and improvement services in fiscal year 2021 for city-owned facilities, land and equipment under the responsibility and care of the City of Missoula Public Works Department's Street Division, Central Services Vehicle Maintenance Division, and Development Services Engineering Division, providing for a method of assessments and providing for other matters properly relating thereto.
Thank you, sir. That motion is in order. Is there discussion on the motion? Ms. Vasika?
Thank you. This is for the roads district. Is that correct?
Correct.
I will not be supporting this motion. When this district was first created in 2010, it started out at $300,000. And since then, it has increased over 1,600% to $4.9 million. That is not what the citizens signed up for, and therefore I cannot support that. Should I comment on the Parks District or wait for that?
Wait, please.
Thank you.
Mr. Ramos?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as per tradition, I will be given a brief history lesson on the old Park District and Road District. I'll just combine them because they're the similar story. So in 2010, these were first proposed by the City Council on these districts, and in order to get these created, there need not be a vote. What happened is that essentially every property owner in Missoula got a letter, postcard, something in the mail from the city saying that this district is going to be created. It was going to be created at $300,000 for the roads, $200,000 for the Park District, and if they didn't get enough signatures back saying that they didn't want this district, then essentially the district was automatically created. So kind of like reverse voting. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me, but in any event, from what I can surmise, and granted this is not scientifically based, but I would imagine that 50 to 60% of those went right in the garbage can. People thought maybe it was junk mail. They didn't really know what it was. Another 20% of those probably thought that, oh, okay, the 200,000, 300,000 citywide, that's not going to be a big deal. We'll go ahead and just ignore this and let it go into effect. Should be good. Help the parks, help the roads. And then the remaining 30% probably read it and maybe understood it, maybe quite didn't. But in any event, the district got created without the vast majority of people knowing those two districts. So then here we are today. And when those districts were first levied, as Ms. Vasika said, the road district was levied at $300,000 and the park district was levied at $200,000. And here we are today. 9 years later, and we're at $4.9 million for parks and $2.7 million for roads. Let's switch those around. $2.7 million for parks, $4.9 million for roads. So this has just gone up incredibly high, and this is, I think, what a lot of folks, particularly libertarians, fear about government having essentially unfettered control to raise taxes and raise increases within certain districts without that cap that the legislature sets. And this is a way, in my opinion, to get around that. In fact, it is called cap management, to shift more of the resources into these districts so that we can still have a little bit more buffer within our general fund. And I will acknowledge that we have not hit that cap yet. But in any event, we did also just pass a gas tax saying that we're in desperate need of another $500,000, where if you look at this road district, we have about $5 million in here, whereas 9 years ago we didn't have any. So it just goes to my point that I don't think throwing more money at the problem is necessarily going to solve it. And I'm not supportive of these districts because of the drastic increases within those and the shifts of the general fund expenditures without showing where those shifted dollars within the general fund was shifted to. So I appreciate the sentiment around this, and I hope our roads do get better, but I cannot support this drastic increase. Thank you.
So as someone who actually was here for the history and lived through it, and often history is written by the winner, as Mr. Ramos knows, these districts were created for the very purpose that Mr. Ramos suggests. There is an artificial cap placed by the Montana legislature, which has very little to do with providing services that local folks expect and demand. And so we created these districts, funded them accordingly in year one, and have done our best over time to try to shift costs from those districts into shift costs from the general fund into these districts. These districts are a tool that have been used traditionally by cities around Montana. And if you were to look at the special districts employed by The city of Billings, for example, you would see numbers that far exceed these. And it's all really about providing those services in light of an artificial cap that actually makes no sense. So we make no bones about the fact that we're offloading general fund to support these enterprises and provide the service. I will also note that the $4.9 million in the road district combined with BARSA funds, that's the statewide gas tax that was increased a number of years ago, and along with the local gas tax, does not even come close to meeting the need in our transportation plan and all of our maintenance plans. So we're doing the best we can here. And when you campaign on the notion of better streets, one of the ways you get those is you spend money on them. If you also look at the general fund, you'll see that, again, police and fire, those public safety enterprises, which we rely on and which are fundamental to municipal operations, have no protection without these special districts. Ms. Harp, on the motion.
Thank you. I will be supporting this motion, both motions for the districts. I appreciate my colleagues differing in opinion. However, as our Chief Administrative Officer Dale Bickle showed us in the last session, Missoula, between both the property taxes that go into the general fund, as well as the park district and the road district, we still, as Missoula, despite being the most progressive city in the state, has the median in terms of what we generate in terms of revenue per tax, per property, if you will, in terms of revenue. And I think it speaks volumes to the fact that with the limited amount of resources that we do have, that we are able to disperse those funds throughout our community for all the various different public needs. And from time to time, I scratch my head about what could we do differently. The road and park district has been part of that solution, as imperfect as it is, but it still places us well behind our big city peers in the state of Montana. And for that, I am grateful. Thank you.
Mr. Hess on the motion.
Thanks. I agree with a thing that Mr. Ramos said, which was that this is not scientifically based. I think that his remarks were, were speculative about the protest provisions, and I think that that's an important note, I guess. As the mayor mentioned, the property tax cap that caps property tax increases at the rate of 1/2 of inflation is really unworkable. It is from an anti-government sagebrush rebellion era of our history where there were not so veiled attempts to strangle government into smaller and smaller sizes. And I think what we've seen throughout the history of in recent history here in Missoula is that the public values the services that the city provides. The public is willing to pay for those services. The gas tax, the distinction here being that the voters passed the gas tax. The voters elected the members of the city council. The voters have basically directed us to provide services that they find value in. So I'm not gonna beat a dead horse that Mr. Ramos and I have gone back and forth on different theories of government, and I respect and appreciate that he has a different one. But I think that these services add value. I think the road district is an appropriate way to pay for it, and I think when you look at the overall tax scenario, this is part of a balanced puzzle, and I'll be supportive.
Mr. Ramos with a rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I truly do appreciate the back and forth on this. I think it's great for the public to have two different ideas respectfully debated in public. So I think that's great. And I just wanted to state for the record that Billings does indeed use these far above and beyond what Missoula does. And trust me, this is not an endorsement of how Billings runs its city by any stretch of the imagination, because I think there's a lot of things that they do far worse than Missoula. But in any event, they do have a much lower cap than we do. I just wanted to point that out for the record, that their city charter actually artificially lowers their cap far more than even Missoula. So that is one of the reasons why theirs is quite a bit higher. And then also on the budgeting side and campaigning on lowering taxes, simply what I'm arguing for on it is if I have a budget and I'm spending a certain amount of money per month and I'm going out to eat, I'm doing various other things, taking trips to Disneyland, but I need a trip or a new roof on my house, I'm going to cut back in those other areas to provide extra savings and more money for the roof on my house. So that's simply what I'm suggesting with this is looking for efficiencies and various different cuts in the department, which I have discussed in the past, to pay for some of these increased services. But again, I'm glad that this money is going to the roads, and I hope to goodness it improves our roads. And I appreciate the concerns of my fellow council members around that. So thank you all, and I will not be supporting the motions.
Seeing no further discussion, we will have a roll call vote on the resolution.
Just a minute. On road district number 1 assessments, I think we start this round with Contos.
No.
Harp,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Ramos,
No.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Basika,
No.
Von Lossberg,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
and Becerra.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? It's 9 ayes and 3 nays.
And the resolution is approved. Mr. Von Lossberg.
Thank you. I am making sure I'm unmuted. I am. I move we adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Missoula, Montana, levying and assessing the lots and parcels within the City of Missoula Park District number 1 at $2,701,974 for the costs associated with providing certain maintenance, purchasing, and improvement services in fiscal year 2021 for city-owned facilities, land, and equipment under the responsibility and care of the City of Missoula Parks and Recreation Department, providing for a method of assessments, and providing for other matters properly relating thereto.
That motion is in order. Is there discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, we have had a public hearing. We'll have a roll call vote.
And on the motion to levy assessments and choose the assessment method for Park District number 1, Harp,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
I'll note for the record that Ms. Jones has left the meeting.
okay. Merritt,
Yes.
Ramos,
No.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Vasika,
No.
Von Lossberg,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Becerra,
Yes.
Contos.
No.
Would any of you like to change your vote? That's 8 ayes, 3 nays, 1 absent.
And the resolution is approved. We have no additional public hearings this afternoon. We have 2 items for final consideration. These items had public hearings that are now closed, and the council will vote based on motion provided by committee chair. Our first is an application to rezone property at 508 South 3rd Street West. And Mr. Hess, a motion, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that on this second and final reading, we adopt an ordinance to rezone Lot 11 and Block 32 of the Knowles Edition number 1 in Section 21, Township 13 North, Range 19 West, from C1-4 Neighborhood Commercial with a DE-C Design Excellence Corridor Typology 2 overlay to C1-4 Neighborhood Commercial /DE-C Design Excellence Corridor Typology 2 slash AR adaptive reuse overlay based on the findings of fact in the staff report. I'd like to speak to the motion briefly.
Mr. Hess.
I want to first of all acknowledge that we did receive a public comment about parking on South 2nd Street West. I want to acknowledge that comment. I don't agree with the substance of the comment, but it's always valuable when members of the public get in touch with issues of concern. I want to thank Jesse Dodson for bringing forward a really cool project. I think this is going to be a really great way to reuse an historic resource in our community and to give it a new life. It's right on the edge of downtown. And it's really going to be a neat project. I also really want to thank our staff, Emmy Shear, our historic preservation officer, as well as Emily Gluckin, the case planner on this, for implementing the first AR overlay project and in one of the first AR type zoning districts in the country. My understanding is that Missoula has been one of the first 5 communities in the country to implement a really innovative type of zoning overlay. And that's a big deal. It telegraphs our community values of historic preservation and sustainability and waste reduction and investing in the interior of our community, focusing inward, and those are all big deals. So I just think this is a project that will be really fun to see come to fruition, and I want to congratulate everyone involved, from the applicant to the staff, and I will be supporting the motion.
Is there any additional discussion on the motion? Mr. Von Lossberg.
Just simply to echo Jordan's thanks to the developer and the staff members. He nailed it in recognizing the value of this and sort of the historic nature of it. And so I'm really grateful as well.
Ms. West.
Thank you. I also want to speak in support of this project. I think that it meets many of our community's goals, which include historic preservation, zero waste goals by supporting the adaptive reuse of an existing structure, and also sorry, my kids are being really loud in the background today. But also our ambitious multimodal shift goals by creating density in a part of town that is supported by public transit and is in a walkable part of Missoula. So thanks.
Seeing no further discussion, we will have a roll call vote on the motion to rezone. I'm sorry, I didn't call for public comment. Let me have a quick look here. Seeing none, back to that roll call vote. My apologies.
All right, on the adaptive reuse overlay, Hess.
Yes.
Jones is absent. Merritt?
Yes.
Ramos?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Vasika?
Yes.
Von Lossberg?
Yes.
West?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Becerra?
Yes.
Contos?
Yes.
And Harp.
Proudly, yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? It's 11 ayes, 1 absent.
And the ordinance is approved. Our second item for final consideration happens in the Administration and Finance Committee.
My apologies. Ms. Jones is absent, but I believe Ms. Merritt has filled in that capacity.
Ms. Merritt.
All right. I will say, first of all, that Gwen did not give me a heads up on this, but I have filled in for her in the past. So I can read what it says here on the screen in front of me, but that's about as good as I can do.
And that's all you need to do.
Okay, so the item 4.2 is the sidewalk snow removal assessments for fiscal year 2021. And I move that we adopt a resolution levying a special assessment and tax upon property for annual sidewalk snow removal assessments to reimburse the city for removal of snow performed in 2020 in the total amount of $1,360 pursuant to section 12.16.030 and 12.16.040 Missoula Municipal Code.
And that motion is in order. Is there discussion on the motion? Ms. Wasika?
Thank you. I just had a question. I think that this went straight from Admin and Finance Committee to this meeting. Was there a public hearing on this, or am I just mistaken?
You're not mistaken. There isn't a public hearing required for sidewalk snow removal or for hazardous vegetation under the state law or city law.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. I don't see anyone in the audience who cares to make comment. And with that, we will have a roll call vote on the resolution.
Okay, we start this round with Merritt.
Yes.
Ramos.
No.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Vasika.
No.
Von Lossberg.
Yes.
West. She must have left the meeting.
She's here. She's just muted.
Sorry.
Oh,
Not
sorry.
Meeting quick enough. Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Becerra.
Yes.
Contos.
No.
Harp.
Yes.
Hess.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? That is 8 ayes, 3 noes, and 1 absent.
And the resolution is approved. We have no additional business before the body. As always, I thank you for your
Mayor
service.
Ingen, yes, we do.
Oh, my apologies. What am I
We have
missing?
hazardous vegetation yet.
Oh, sorry. I missed my third page of my agenda. I was so excited. We do have one more. And once again, Ms. Merritt, if you would pinch hit, please.
Yes, absolutely. I probably could have lumped these together, but so this is a resolution levying assessments for hazardous vegetation for fiscal year 2021. And I move that we adopt a resolution levying a special assessment and tax upon property for annual weed assessments for fiscal year 2021 to reimburse the city for hazardous vegetation and nuisance weed cut orders in the amount of $1,187.50 pursuant to section 7-22-4101 Montana Code annotated and section 8.40.040 Missoula Municipal Code.
Thank you, Ms. Merritt, and that motion is in order. I will note for anyone who might be inclined to vote against this, it is much like the previous motion. The city is seeking reimbursement from private property owners who did not take care of their property. In the case of snow shoveling, we received complaints. We gave those property owners a variety of opportunities to correct the problem and come in compliance with the law so that folks could get down the sidewalk. And in cases where they did not comply, we sent crews out to remove the snow. And we are recouping the costs of having performed that service for people who did not perform the service after a couple of warnings. The same holds true for the hazardous vegetation. We are recovering costs that the city has incurred because people haven't followed the rules. Is there discussion on the motion? Ms. Anderson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the explanation. I was hoping to make that same point, but you said it more eloquently than I. And I just really think that this is a I know that there has been arguments about this in the past when we passed this every year in the budget about that, well, that, you know, it's somehow disadvantagedly affecting people who can't shovel their snow or can't mow their lawns. And I just want to point out that every available accommodation, and we work with nonprofits, especially with the senior center, or to make sure that people who are elderly or are financially unable to pay for someone to shovel their walks or mow their lawns, that every accommodation is made. And this is the absolute last resort. That, and it's a lot of times people who just are absentee landlords. I had a situation on the street down from me where it was noxious weeds. Got to be the point where it was a fire hazard. Lots of people are not taking care of their lawns this time of year. It's incredibly dried out, and it was a hazard to the surrounding neighbors. So just wanted to make sure I put that out on the record, that we're telling the proper story of what actually this is.
Mr. Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I apologize. I should have spoken to the last motion. We did talk about this in committee, but realized that some folks are probably not there for that. So I'm supporting both motions, opposing both motions because number one, on the sidewalk issue, I will respond to your comments briefly, Mr. Mayor. I don't think it's right, and I don't understand either how a city-owned sidewalk, which oftentimes the customer has to pay for, the resident has to pay for, the owner of the property has to pay for, even though it's technically held in the public trust for the public good, yet that person has no control over that property, even though they have to pay to maintain it. So to me, that does seem like something that should be a more socialized cost. Again, we get back to the whole discussion on how to pay for it without taxes, and hashed that out already with the rearranging of the budget and reprioritizing different things. But then even back to the vegetation, again, for Liberty-loving people like me, I think that when a city employee comes on to somebody's private property, regardless of how many warnings there are without a warrant, I do think it amounts to nothing more than trespassing. I absolutely hate the idea of people coming on, cutting weeds, regardless of what the reason is. So in any event, I will not be supporting this motion either, just my lunatic libertarian view of things and private property rights.
Mr. Van Osberg.
Miss Anderson mostly made my point about the fire danger. I just want it to be clear to the public that we're not talking about overgrown dandelions or something like that. And I will sleep just fine at night with no concerns about this issue of trespassing when we prevent fire from burning down a neighbor's house and all of the damage and loss of life potentially that can happen because someone let weeds. And we need to be really clear here. We're not talking about just some overgrown plants. We're talking about when it reaches fire danger stage, and everyone in Montana should appreciate that.
Ms. Becerra.
I was just gonna say the same thing, that lack of maintenance to address hazardous vegetation can a fire hazard in no time. All it takes is just one spark, and the ramifications of that can mean loss of a house and a lot of property. It's true that a more socialized system, which would seem more appropriate, but that would probably most likely require that in order to provide those services, we would have to increase property taxes. And that doesn't seem like the appropriate thing to do. So I will be supporting this motion.
Ms. Merritt.
Yeah, with rights comes responsibilities. I do support people's property rights. But along with that comes some responsibility, and living in the city limits, that means taking care of your property. It means taking care of the sidewalk so that your neighbors can traverse that sidewalk. It's just simple living in society, being part of a community. I know that our enforcement folks give people every opportunity to take care of these things before they send someone in to do it for them and charge them for it. So I'm fully in support of this motion.
Seeing no additional discussion, we will have a roll call vote.
Okay, Ramos,
No.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Vasika,
No.
Van Lossberg,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Becerra,
Yes.
Contos,
Yes.
Harp,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
and Merritt.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? It's 9 ayes, 2 nays, and 1 absent.
And that resolution is approved as well. Now, I've looked at all of the paper in front of me. We have no additional business before the body. And as always, I thank you for your service, particularly on a Wednesday afternoon. We will be adjourned.